Welcome to another Swell Spotlight. This is International Clown Week, and we have a roundtable going on with clowns to learn about that, but also in celebration of laughter and humor. We've decided to have a spotlight this week focusing on a comedian who has really taken his career and spun it around to do so many interesting things. His name is Adam Paul, and I will put the link to his website in this description. A lot of you know Adam because you've seen him naked. Don't get nervous. He was on How I Met Your Mother, and he's considered the naked man. And those of you who know that show know Adam Paul. He's a director and a writer also. He's also a professor of acting in University of Las Vegas. And he has done so many things in his career that inspire me in terms of knowing that we're never too old to learn the next skill that we're going to offer the world. We start out sometimes in our lives saying, I'm going to be an actor, or I'm going to be a doctor. But that's at different points in our career, there's opportunities to take a little bit of a stock and say, gosh, I've done this. What can I do next? And in the time of COVID, we've been hearing a lot about people talk about career pivots. And I'm really going to focus with Adam on his entire career and how he's been so successful kind of reading the industry, reading the times, knowing what he can do next to thrive personally and also offer up his skills to the world. Adam, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. I'm looking forward to really stretching out here and learning more about you and also having people dig into how your career can help them make some of the decisions that they're making right now too. We have a tradition in the Spotlight where we first ask our guests to talk about a sound that delights them, since this is an audio app. Tell us a sound that delights you. Either describe it or sample it for us. Okay. After you're doing that, the first question I have for you is, tell me where you are right now physically. I know you're a part of the world that a lot of us have been to but never thought about living there, and I want you to talk to us about life where you are right now, how it's doing, what's the weather like? Just drop us into your reality before we get into anything bigger about your career and the whole conversation we're having. So take it away. Looking forward to really digging in, and I appreciate your time.
Wow. Hi, Deborah and Swell community. This is Adam Paul. What a terrific introduction, and what an honor to be part of this new platform. I'm digging it, and I'm a sound guy. I'm a language guy, and I've had a long voiceover career from the beginning of my career right through to all the other crap I do now. And I wear headphones a lot of the day, and speak into a microphone a lot of the day. So Swell is particularly interesting to me. A sound that delights me is a really good question to ask me, because I don't have an immediate answer except for this, and it is more than just a sound. On my iPhone 11, and this experience happened on an earlier version of the iPhone. When you download an app and you approve it, or give the phone permission to download it, you have to either on the new iPhone that I have, you'll hold the button on the side, but it used to be the home button on the screen in the center, and you had to hold that down, and it would vibrate and make this dinging sound. That I am not skilled enough to make happen on the phone while I'm recording it now. But those of you who have iPhones know what I'm talking about. And I get excited about it just before it happens. The anticipation is delicious. And there's something about haptic? It's a haptic experience. I got to look it up. But there is something about the tone and the very delicate vibrate on my thumb that is satisfying to me and unique. Like it's brilliant on Apple's part, because you don't get that anywhere else, unless you have an Android phone or something. Let me know. Okay, so to answer your question, where I am currently in my stepdaughter's former bedroom, which still has many of her things in it, and I have converted it into a recording studio. Hi, Swell. From which I do a lot of different things, voiceover work, and I'm a podcast producer now, and I write, and I direct commercials and television. All those things happen from this room in Henderson, Nevada, which is a suburb of Las Vegas, Nevada, and upstairs in my house. So it is August in the desert, and it is going to be 112 degrees today. And this room upstairs in the corner of the house gets warm no matter how well insulated it is, and no matter how persistent our air conditioning is. So I am in this place. My Las Vegas, yes, is a place a lot of people have been to but don't think about living in. I certainly never thought I would live here. I lived in LA for 25 years, and prior to that I was from the East Coast, upstate New York. The desert certainly feels about as far away from that as it could be. As I drove here with our dog Roscoe, who is dearly departed, I took a picture of him. He loved to look out the window on those long drives, and we get into the desert, and there was a great shot I have of him with what clearly was once the bottom of an ocean, way off in the distance, and it is barren. And I just posted it with the caption, "Welcome to Mars, buddy." But I have learned to love it here, and it didn't take me long, aside from the fact that my family is here. I moved here because my wife teaches at UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, where I now teach. She's a psychologist and teaches in the terrific doctoral program at UNLV.
Welcome to Mars. I love that. I love that you live on Mars and that your doggy had to make that huge transition. It's very apropos because everyone's making transitions right now. So going from the lush Los Angeles to the very dry Las Vegas can be looked at in many different ways. Specific to your career, and making this really helpful for people who are in this space of, what's hot and what's not, literally and figuratively. When you first started out living in Los Angeles, you had milestones, obviously, that you set for yourself. I want to do this at this point. I want to be playing here at this point. I want to be on this show at this point. Can you talk about setting milestones for yourself then as opposed to milestones for yourself now? How has that changed for you so that you can have realistic goals versus dreams, which we all need to have? And how do you kind of go back and forth between having big dreams and having accessible dreams? I think you get where I'm going. Sort of the idea of just, taking care of our hearts and making sure we're not going to disappoint ourselves, having tangible goals, but also having goals that are big and audacious and hairy and all those things. So back in Los Angeles, you probably started with very specific goals. And how is that compared to the goals you have now? Thanks.
Oh, man, that's a great question about goals versus dreams. It's one I don't wrestle with so much anymore, but it's top of mind. It's been my life's work, Deborah. Yes, I always wanted to be an actor for as long as I could remember. That's all I wanted to do. I was a double major in college and majored in theater and didn't feel like that was enough of an acting education for me, and so I went to graduate school and classical training in San Francisco at the American Conservatory Theater, where, by the way, just apropos of our week, I played a clown in a production of C.P. Taylor's Good with William Hurt, dropping a name, but I was this through line through the play where I was basically the clown from Blue Angel? The Blue Angel? Isn't that the movie with Marlene Dietrich? Anyway, the director had a vision, and I played that sort of drunken clown. So I can find a picture of me and William Hurt and send it to you at some point. But so I went to graduate school, and then I was not an actor who thought he would go to New York and Broadway and like become a stage actor. I really wanted to go to Los Angeles and work in television and film. And yes, I arrived with a very determined, hyper-focused need to work and achieve success, which is a big conversation in my house now because my stepson is studying to be an actor. He just booked his first job in a film that shoots next week in Los Angeles, and we talk a lot about what success is. And you can't have those goals without having a clear definition of that. And in our industry, in the performing arts, and really, honestly, anything where you're a creative professional, it's not so clear what success is. I mean, fame, celebrity, fortune seem to be the tip of that iceberg, but let's be honest, you know, that is, I mean, it's a lottery, man, and that's not news. I was told that growing up and completely ignored it, because I knew I was the greatest actor to ever live. And, you know, as when I was younger, I was very frustrated early on in my time in LA. I probably had been in LA for 6 months, and I was frustrated I wasn't auditioning for anything, and I had for all of my acting training, I had no training that told me how to, like, navigate a career. You were just sort of thrown into it. And my father was like, well, I was like, I'm not sure why I'm doing this. My father said, well, because you're good at it. And I said, yeah, but that's not enough. That's clearly not enough. And that is the case in all things, I think. So I only have a minute left, and I'll do a second one after this. But setting realistic goals while maintaining your dreams. Certainly, you know, I teach actors right now, right? I teach at UNLV in the theater and film departments. I teach acting for the camera. But more than... Shit. Okay, I'm going to keep going. I thought I was out of time. I swear, so you'll just have to deal with that. More than teaching acting, I really think it's you have to have a three-pillared approach, which is you're teaching a theory or a technique, right? And then you're also teaching the practice of it, and then the profession of it. And the benefit of my experience, I think, makes me unique as a teacher. We have some experienced professionals teaching here, and we're not a conservatory program, but what I bring that's special, I think, is a deep understanding of what it's like out on the street, and I enjoy sharing that with my students. I'm going to run out of time in 5 seconds, so I will pause here and then post them. So, you know, it's easier for me as a about to be 53-year-old man to adjust my expectations, to have an understanding of what my dreams might really mean for me, and to have brushed a certain amount of celebrity, but not really experienced the whole Megillah, which is Yiddish for book, the whole book. So here's my advice that I offer my students, which is, and how I train them, which is, we are storytellers above all else. And through our work, let's figure out how to tell stories in the manner we so choose, and how other people tell stories, and set as our bar, if we can, the goal of telling a good story. If we get to do that, whether it's money in our pockets or not, that's success. Now, that said, we're here to make a living, too. That is the dream, to make a living being creative. All this will inform the rest of our conversation today, by the way. So if our goal is to make a living being creative, the realities on the ground are being trained to be an actor and go audition for things that other people produce and make money in that way that pays our rent and our bills and makes sure we have health care is incredibly challenging in the 21st century in America. We don't have a state-sponsored theater. We don't have a state-sponsored anything. I don't know that that's a solution anyway. But we have to be more creative than just actors. We have to create our own stuff or work with people who create their own stuff. We need to have relationships with other creative professionals who do more than just wait for the studio to call. Now, there are a million examples of very successful people now who have pursued their careers in that way, and that's what I choose to focus on, and that's how I am able to pivot day to day. I literally have 3 different things happening today that I'm working on simultaneously. I think I have a little adult ADD without being too, it's self-diagnosed. So that's maybe rude of me, and apologies to anyone with a little ADD. But I'm more comfortable with a lot of balls in the air. That's the way it is. As a director, it's turned out to be a gift. And now as someone who has just a bunch of projects that I started at the same time and that have taken off, I have to manage them at the same time. I'm exhausted all the time, but I'm also happy. And I'm creative, and it all is still a form of acting. For me, it certainly is storytelling. And so for me, that dream had to be shaped, had to be redefined a little bit along the way, but is still achieved through realistic goals that to an outsider look like I'm constantly, moving goal posts and changing sport uniforms. That's how much of a sports fan I am. The sport uniforms, sport costumes. To me, I feel like I do the one thing, which is tell stories, and whatever title it has and whatever costume it requires, I'll put on to get to do the thing that I want. The older I get, the more unified that becomes. But like you were saying in your intro, starting out, I felt like I was going to be an actor. That's the way it is. There's only one way to that. There's only one way to do that, and it's only the one thing. And there's more than that.
There's something so expansive about the roadmap of your career that is not only inspiring, but it's very teachable. In these last 2 swells that you shared, you really bring to the fore this importance of storytelling as it fits anywhere in our world right now. But hand in hand with that is the flexibility to be a stretching person, someone that pushes out of their idea and pushes into other places, and knowing that you're not going to explode, you're just going to be stretching. And coupled with that is the idea of collaboration. And what I want to put out here is the idea that your career, from teaching to directing to writing to podcasting to acting to being a student of all of that, as well as a teacher of all of that, you really help us see that the balls in the wall that in the air that you call balls in the air are really just you responding to people reacting to you. So I think part of the challenge people have is not pathologizing maybe the ability to juggle as being ADD or somebody who can't focus, or someone who has a hyper focus. It depends on how you look at ADD. But it's celebrating the gift of creativity as being a person who is what we call a creative. So you're creative, and this Swell Spotlight is about focusing on a person who is a creative who has found a way to make a living in the world that we're in right now. So I'd like to talk a little bit about humor, specifically humor in your career. Not so much, ha, funny, I'm on stage making people laugh. That's one part of your career, but it plays right into these aspects of when you're collaborating and you're stretching yourself and you're telling stories with people. The thread of all that is the good-naturedness that we have towards each other, but let's look specifically at humor as a tool. Can you help us look at humor as a tool? Not as a manipulative tool, but as a tool nonetheless. There are people who are funny, who are like, oh my God, I'm so funny. How can you use humor in your life to succeed? Let's just leave it there. It's a big question. Have fun.
Big question. How do we use humor in life to succeed? I will answer that in a moment. Let me just, in my defense, say I don't believe I'm pathologizing anything when I say I'm a little adult ADD. It has proven to be a problem elsewhere in my life. That said, I manage it, and I feel like at this age it's a little bit of just who I am, and I embrace it. I don't think you were pointing any fingers, but anyway. So humor to succeed in life. Well, look. I'm Jewish. I happen to know that you are as well, and there is a cultural, element to this. Not that other people can't be funny. Many non-Jews are hilarious, but I do feel like mine comes from a culturally Jewish background and a family that valued humor and storytelling, humorous storytelling, as a way of comforting ourselves, as a way of reminding ourselves that all is not lost. Not that I grew up fairly affluent. Certainly there wasn't a lot of despair in the outward appearance of my life, but at least in my Jewish family, we certainly were prone to anxiety and depression and those things that lead people to despair. So humor has always been a way to combat that. Not in a self-medicating way, but in I think a very healthy processing, honest look at things as they are way. And I got early training in that as a kid, and then later in life. But it wasn't until my 30s when I really felt I had permission to be funny. I married a funny woman, my first wife, who's a very talented actress, a comedic actress, and I started to take classes at the Groundlings where she was a company member, and I met all of these, remarkable human beings who lived comedy in a way that I realized I missed as a classically trained, very serious actor who needed to, look and be a certain way. So that's my background around comedy in a nutshell. I have found, however, it helps. It helps to be honest, and I don't come by honesty easily. I didn't get into acting to be honest, to be true. I got into acting to be famous. I got into acting to get girls. I got into acting to be liked. That's why I got into it. But as you get older, those things matter less. And you find out that you can't get them through, acting, being the center of attention. But humor, good-natured humor rooted in honesty, is a great way to get to know people. And I find now, after having been a comedy guy for so long, and I've done stand-up and I've written comedy for television and commercials and directed comedy and produced comedy, and it just comes sort of naturally to me, but I find that it always yields a relationship. And that's, in the end, what good storytelling is anyway, I think. So, I don't know if that fully answers your question. I don't know that I can fully answer your question, but certainly having a sense of humor is important. If you feel like you don't, start to develop one and start to appreciate the art of comedy, which is sort of remarkable, really, when you look into it and when you listen to comedians, particularly leading comedians of our day. That's a shout out to Sarah Cooper right now, who just lip syncs to the president, and it's hilarious.
It does build relationships. I agree with you. Funniness it breaks down walls and opens up flow, because laughing is a physical response to things, and it releases kind of this kind of endorphin stuff, and it makes us connect. I love laughing. Let's talk about podcasts for a second. Swell is an excellent place for people to do microcasts where they are able to use 5-minute segments to say a lot and get audience engagement, which podcasts don't do. I know that you are working on a really cool podcast right now with your students called pod115.com. I'm enjoying it. And talk to me a little bit about the podcasting world as a really good platform, but specific to this conversation, the nuance of human voice around podcasting, the lack of visuals, the lack of anything but the human voice and soundscapes. How have you been enjoying that? How have you been teaching that? Your opinions about Swell and how Swell can boost people's participation in this beautiful sonic space that we're in. Let's talk about that. And then I'm going to open this up to people. So everybody listen to his response. And then I hope we start getting some conversations back and forth. We'll certainly share this roundtable out into the world. And let's see how deep we can get in this conversation of humor and business.
I'm reminded of an old saw within at least the acting world that comedic actors are the best actors because comedy is such a unique muscle that has to be developed. Most comedians are remarkable dramatic actors. It doesn't necessarily follow the other way, where dramatic actors are great comedians, because comedy is about timing and music and rhythm and smarts. Not that dramatic actors aren't smart, but you have to be quick on your feet. So I bring that up just because something about you saying humor in business, I thought there's a connection there that I'm not making right now. Yes, podcasting. So I am prior to coronavirus and our pandemic life, I designed a class at UNLV for acting students called Narrative Serial Podcast as a way to teach these young artists content creation and self-production skills, something that I think very few undergrad programs are offering, certainly something that I have developed over the course of my career and was never really taught in any of my studying, but I think is vital and has become more so in the age of YouTube and in the age of podcasting. I chose podcasting when designing the course because I felt like it's, well, first of all, incredibly inexpensive, low production investment, high return on the time investment. So it coincided with an opening at UNLV's lead library of a maker space, which included 4 state-of-the-art podcast studios, a remarkable 3D printing studio, and then this other sort of workshop space where you can do anything. You can make anything. It's the way of university libraries these days, but UNLV really went all in and spent a lot of money and a lot of expertise on making this area where students and faculty, anybody who's part of the university community, can go in and get their hands dirty. And that was their same philosophy with the podcasting studio. So that coincided with this course I was offering, and it was a wonderful way to teach these students how to make a podcast, what a podcast was, although most of my students know, but they don't necessarily know the breadth of the podcasting world, and then how to actually make it happen, come up with an idea and make it happen. And that is my particular area of expertise through life. Anything that's ever advanced my career has been something that I've actually instituted. That's not entirely true. I had nothing to do with the creation of How I Met Your Mother, but I had a show on the Stars Network that I created and produced and starred in, and that what started at the same, desk that I sit at now. So these things, and I have no training in it, right? I just trained as an actor, but I was tired of waiting around, so I wrote a thing for myself. We produced it and we sold it, and the same sort of thing is happening now with this podcast that was the result of the class called Pod 115. Pod 115 is a fiction podcast, so we're allowing these actors to stretch their wings as artists in their area of training, that tells a story over 9 pretty short episodes, about 10 minutes, so a little longer than Swell's limit, but enough for us to be able to tell a story and still produce something by the end of the semester. We're limited by semesters in the academic world. I'm going to continue this into the next. So in a way, we're all creators, right? In the 21st century, and quarantine has imposed more of that on more of us. And I think as you began this Swellcast, Deborah, you alluded to this, that we are in a time where we're asking ourselves, what am I doing? How do I do it? How can I do it differently to adapt to our new reality? Podcasting it just fits the bill, and in fact, we were in the middle of our production of Pod 115 when we had to disband, and we're not allowed to record at the library anymore, and we're not meeting indoors in person, although we did, before things got shut down for real in the Las Vegas area, we did meet outside and recorded some significant material outside using our iPhones and very inexpensive microphones, and finished telling our story in that way. We had to adapt some of our story. We had to shift and pivot, but it turned out kind of great, and it fit with our production philosophy, which was to create something real. Verisimilitude was important. Even though this was a fiction podcast, we wanted it to. We were following sort of the Orson Welles model of War of the Worlds, where we don't tip our hand to any of the storytelling that's happening or fiction storytelling that's happening. We just tell it as though it's real. And that required us to create a podcast that sounded as real as it possibly could in the writing, in the performance, in the production. So that's Pod 115. Please check it out, pod115.com, on all of your, anywhere where you listen to podcasts, it's available. And we would love to hear from you. Following this terrific spotlight, I'm looking forward to opening up a Pod 115 discussion on Swell, and perhaps that being our home for that kind of conversation. I think to literally hear people's voices is very valuable, and as I began this conversation, sound is important to me, and hearing people's voices rather than seeing a little favicon photograph and seeing your clever writing, which I love as well, to be able to engage in that way vocally is built into the DNA of podcasting, of course, but it is also much more intimate than writing. We have learned over the past 20 years or so now to not hide, but that we can create with written words artifice. And that's good for some things, but in terms of intimacy, in terms of human connection, as we were discussing earlier, the human voice is a powerful tool. And I'm in the business of honing that tool for young people and beyond who want to find their voice and use their voice to its fullest potential. Swell gives you that opportunity. And I think to be able to engage, in this case through a podcast, with an audience on that level of intimacy is a great opportunity. After all, we are, even though it's a fiction podcast, I'm working on nonfiction podcasts as well, interview podcasts, that kind of thing. You are offering up something of yourself when you get in front of a microphone. And why shouldn't we start to expect our audience to do the same? I think audiences want to do the same. I think part of what social media is about is a desire to be engaged and to connect, obviously. But it is limited by words and a lack of ability to truly have skin in the game in your thoughts and ideas and ultimately your actions. So I'm gonna do one more as a follow-up here. It'll be short though. Okay, so just to finish up, this notion of having skin in the game, of being invested and understanding the value of who we are and what we have to express, is something in teaching younger people is an exciting conversation to have. And I work with so many super talented young people who are in the midst of discovering who they are, both, on many different levels. But embracing that is essential to the work that I do, and the idea of demanding it of my audiences is really exciting to me, because I get sick of hearing myself talk. It's so much better when it's a conversation. So with that, I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope we can carry this on. And listen to Pod 115, pod115.com, and then the others that I'll let you know about. You can also follow me on social media. Generally is Real Adam Paul, REAL ADAMPAUL, Twitter and Instagram, and the Facebook. Facebook might be something different. Just look for me. Okay, thanks. Talk to you soon, I hope. Right? Yes. Another thing popped into my head, and then I have to go have dinner, but I'm looking forward to talking to anybody that wants to chat. Deb mentioned soundscapes because I think she's listening to Pod 115, and there's a variety of ambient noise and created soundscapes that happen in the storyline that I won't give anything away, but that are a whole, as cheesy as it sounds, they're a character in the story. The sound is an important part of the story. And so I've had this new experience as primarily a visual artist, even though I've had a long voiceover career. Most of my work is directing these days, and directing for camera, and so I'm very, just naturally inclined to frame things and block things and see things. In doing audio fiction, or an audio drama really is what Pod 115 is, and I'm about to do some more, I think, with some groups here in Las Vegas. There is both fiction and nonfiction in Las Vegas, but working with theater companies that are shuttered because of the quarantine and really can't do their thing. I'm producing podcasts for them now to explore a little deeper what they do. But there is a so now I'm jumping around, so forgive me, but there is a fairly easy transition, I find, and a liberating one, from the visual to the oral, A-U-R-A-L, dirty minds. The visual to the audio is, I still think visually, I think we all do, and I think, images, we are visual creatures. I can't speak for the blind, but I would love for anyone who's listening who can't see to chime in on that. Anyway, in creating these soundscapes, they are, in my head, they are directed as visually as anything else I've ever done. And that the imagination runs wild because of this vocal, oral, audio interaction that we have. That's where the power is, and that's where the intimacy lies as well. Where the intimacy has its power is in its ability to create images. And I say a lot, which doesn't help the creation of those images, which is why sometimes the construction of these things, Deborah's very good at speaking clearly and directly, and knows what she wants to say and means what she says. That's, I think, the other value when I talk about skin in the game of this experience of being able to talk to each other in a thoughtful way. And I am excited about the possibilities of Swell as a tool for storytelling, fiction storytelling as well. 5 minutes at a time, 5 minutes aside. But Deborah and I have talked about as well the roughness of this experience that doesn't allow for you to plug in a fancy mic or to create necessarily anything transferring a file that's been produced or mixed or mastered in any way. And so I would love to see work designed for this platform that takes advantage of the intimacy and authenticity of it. And I'd love to chat about that. Thanks, guys. I smell chicken, so I'm going to eat it. And goodbye.
I have a visual of you wearing a T-shirt saying "I smell chicken." Adam, this is like a masterclass. It's so cool to hear you talk. The idea specifically of soundscape as a partner to the authentic voice is really where people are saying, wait, you can't upload audio here in micro podcasts. You have to kind of just use your voice. It's really lo-fi. And it's a great complement to the artfulness of a podcast that is produced and uploaded and has all those complexities that Pod 115 has. So to your point, it gets lonely out there when you're doing great audio work and you don't know how the audience is responding to all the beautiful soundscapes that you're creating. So but Pod 115 is a great example of not compromising on all the vision that your students have had with Pod 115 in terms of using a character that is in fact sound. There's a character in Pod 115 which is sound. And it's not just sound design. It is sound design, but it's playing a huge role in this character lurking in the beginning and lurking. And you're saying, what are these sounds? And you're going to learn that they're part and parcel to the story unfolding. So, using Swell as a native app where you program for this environment is very, very important to me. We are a young app, so we are trying to find people that really fall in love with this medium, and it's not an accessory. It becomes the central communicating device, because I do think attention spans are something to be considered. I love swells that are about 3 minutes long. When swells are longer than that, I tend to use the 1.5 or even the 2 to listen to stuff fast, even though I could still hear it. I'd much rather listen to something slow with no speed up and just really sink into it. But sometimes when I'm really trying to get through a long thread, I use the speed up. So it's going to be interesting to see how we change our ways of communicating. How much can I pack into a couple minutes and still get my thought across? What I'm enjoying with me and you is I'm talking, you're talking, I'm talking, you're talking, and I don't want to monopolize your day. But this is a spotlight, and the nature of spotlight is to really dig in quickly and make it seem like it's a natural interview where we're sitting in the same space. I'm really excited to have some new voices in here, so I'm going to paste, Adam, I'm going to paste your web URL here. That's going to be something that you can share with people, so that people who get this link who don't have the app can go right to the conversation. And you do that by just hitting share, and you say, get the link, and I believe it creates the swellcast.com/something something. Let me figure this out, because it's a new feature for me too, so I'll figure it out, and I'll hear you back here in a minute. So everybody who's hearing this, come on, let's join in. Let's ask this wonderful person some more questions. And by the way, I'm looking forward to some of your students joining in. I know they haven't convened yet. It's got a month going, but Swell conversations never end. So we can bring the spotlight back to life, if it, for those students, down the road. Okay. Hope your chicken's delicious.